Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our Tech Talk on email calendar tips and tricks. This is the second round of this presentation. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Christina Bella with the Northwestern IT Communications team and have with me today's presenter, Brian Suarez. Before we begin the presentation today, if you're having any trouble hearing me or Brian, please make sure your volume's adjusted accordingly. If you have headphones or speakers, just make sure your volume's turned up. Or that it works well for you. Make sure that you're using a wired internet connection if that's available as well, and that you close any applications running in the background that are connected to the internet, including email. If you have any other web browsers open, it'll just give you the best connection during the day, during the presentation, especially since we're going to do some demonstration and some screen sharing today. If you have a question at any time, you can type it into the Q&A box down here, and we'll answer those questions throughout the presentation. We'll also give you an opportunity at the end to download the PowerPoint that Brian's going to go through. But again, we're actually going to do a lot of demonstration and kind of walkthroughs of the tips that Brian's going to share. So we are recording this, and we'll post it and send a link to it to everyone that registered as well. After we already talked about giving you an opportunity to download the PowerPoint, we actually don't have any opening poll questions. Looks like everybody answered kind of what email and calendar tools you're using. So with that, I will actually just pass it right over to Brian.
Cool. Thank you, Christina, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in on this Tech Talk. So I'm going to go over some of the things we'll be discussing today. So the main focus of this presentation is Outlook 2016. This is the upgraded version of Outlook. Some of you who attended the other Tech Talk said that you have Outlook version 2010, Outlook version 2013, 2011 for the Macs. So this is kind of to overview some of the features, hopefully help you and your staff move over to the new version. I'm going to go over how to upgrade along with some new features for the Mac version and the Windows version. I'll also go into the Outlook smartphone app on my iPhone. I will display it here. We'll go over some of the features with the Outlook web app, OA, and then just some, common mail and calendar tips, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end. So first of all, some of you may recognize this icon here. That's Outlook 2016. It's Microsoft has begun to rebrand their products. Some of you may know, or if you don't, all of the Office productivity applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and Outlook are all free for Apple devices. So if you have an iPhone, you have an iPad, go ahead and download those apps if you have some storage on your phone. They're kind of fun, and I'm going to be going over the Outlook one. But same essential features as the previous, but some notable improvements. Christina tagged it as, I'm sorry, no, that's in the Outlook, but we'll talk about that in a minute. There's better performance and stability with Exchange. That's what our mail system uses, is Exchange 2013. All of the products across all the platforms have a universal look. So I'll get into that, and we're going to do a poll question about those. Touchscreen compatibility and cloud integration are some of the more newer and featured features in the upgrade. So we'll move on to the next slide. So Christina's going to put a poll question up, and so everybody make a choice here. Which one is the Mac version and which one is the Windows version? This is Outlook 2016. I have both versions up.
Yep. So we're curious, so which side do you think the Mac version is on? So either the left side, the right side. We'll give everybody a second to answer that question. Looks like we have a clever audience today.
Could be some people from the other one, too.
All right, great. Well, it looks like everyone had it right.
All right. Yeah, so the Mac version is up here, left-hand side. But what I was trying to show you is that they're very similar in the way that they look. And that was definitely intentional. They're trying to provide a streamlined experience over all platforms.
Basically, the biggest cue, if you can see the difference, is just kind of where the open and close icons are, the left or the right, All
right. So upgrading to Outlook. So we're always recommending that you contact the support center. We're here for you. We're here to serve you and all of your IT needs. Give us a call. If you're unsure on how to do it, or you don't know who your IT support is, or you just want to chat, you can just chat with us. Give us a call. If you want to download and install it manually, you can visit the software page on our IT webpage, it.northwestern.edu. Go ahead and you can type in Office, you can type in Outlook, you can search in the navigation menus. However you choose to get there, that is the resource. We also have a hyperlink here, so when you download the PowerPoint, you can click in line on this slide here, and it'll bring you to the correct page. Always, always, always consult with your IT department before you do any type of upgrade, just to ensure that you're not stepping over any toes or you're run into some issues, and you want to make sure that you're keeping them in the loop because they are the ones there to help you out in case anything does happen. Okay, so I'm going to go into some of the little tips and features that exist on the Windows version of Outlook 2016. As you can see, I put a graphic here of the ribbon. The ribbon is the main navigation menu. I think it's been around since 2013, I believe. So I'm going to just go ahead and switch over to that real quick. And so the first thing that is noticeable if you use the 2013 version is this toolbar here. It says, tell me what you want to do. So this is kind of Microsoft's way of integrating their Cortana product into Office. Now, it's not called Cortana. It does use some of the same functionality, but it's kind of like, well, I want to do this. I want to set my auto replies. So I just start typing automatic reply. Let's say you wanted to see flagged mail. You can just start typing in flag. So, and sometimes you may be able to do some things that you never thought you could do. So if you just start typing, you can see, oh, filter email, address book. So this is a quick tip there that you can just click in there and you can start searching for some of the functions within Outlook. Now, one of the main uses of Outlook for all across the university is managing people's calendars. It's very difficult to find time with everybody's busy lives to get everybody in the same room together, especially on different days. So from the main view here in your Outlook, if you just roll over the calendar view, the calendar icon in the bottom, you'll see a little calendar view here. And what it'll do is it'll show you what your upcoming meetings would be. So it's kind of a little snapshot view. But if you click on the calendar icon, and on the left-hand side in your little calendars, let's say you have about 3 or 4 individuals that you need to find some time in specific days. So I'm going to pick up my colleagues here, Omar and Marshall. And I clicked on this arrow so I can combine all of them at once and see kind of breaks. It's kind of like the scheduling assistant. But if you click on a day and you hold, oops, if you want, go to the work week or day view. I like to use the day view because then it shows you all the individual days. If you hold the control key and click on individual days, you'll be able to see all of them line up. So as you can see, I picked the 2nd, 4th, and 10th of May. It's very difficult to see those in just a view. So this is a custom view that you can do. So once again, it's just holding the control key on your keyboard and clicking the specified days that you'd like to see the availability.
So this is a great option. Looks like if you're trying to schedule a meeting across multiple people's schedules, you have these 4 days that are possible, and rather than going into the scheduling assistant for each one, this gives you kind of a quick snapshot to say, okay, we know these 2 days aren't going to work, so then these 2 other days are possibilities, and then you can kind of go in a little bit deeper.
Think of it as multiple day scheduling assistant, because the scheduling assistant only allows you to do 1 day of that view. So that's just a little quick tip there. Now, one of the big features that Microsoft's pushing is their cloud integration. So the Windows client doesn't have as much as the mobile app, the smartphone app, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But what this has here is you're able to connect services to your Outlook. Now it's loading my connected services, but at this time, all you'll be able to do, because they're still doing upgrades, is your OneDrive. So if you have a Microsoft OneDrive account, you can connect it and then take documents from the OneDrive and insert them automatically into your composed messages. I'll go a little deeper into that with the smartphone app because there's several different services for that. But I just want to show that. Also, from here, there's some themed selections. From here, you can choose a different theme, and if you see up in the right-hand corner there, it's changing the background. So that's just a little fun personalization feature that exists.
Nice.
Okay. So for the Mac version, now I'm a Mac person primarily, I will admit that. I use the 2016 client pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm.
The look and brand is aligned with the 2016 Outlook brand,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I had you guess between the two, because they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It has most of the Windows features, but not all of them. We still see some issues with the calendaring, but I'll get into some of the features instead of the non-features. This is a, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This is a major upgrade, so if there are Apple users out there, Mac users, I know there have been a few people that have reached out and asking for ways to easily move from Mac Mail, Apple Mail to Outlook, because we, and it's not in this slide here, but we at the Support Center here in Central IT Organization, we do not recommend Apple Mail. We do not recommend iCal or the Calendar app or the Contacts app in the Macs, only because they weren't written or developed to be 100% completely compatible with Exchange. So it's a major upgrade. We definitely want to do it.
I'll just mention on that note, from the last event, we actually had someone whose people in their area were on Apple Mail, and based on some of the information from this, they're actually looking to switch everybody over to Outlook, which is, it's great. It's going to be easier to get support if you do have an issue.
Yes.
So just a better option all around for any Apple Mail users in the audience today.
Yep, that's a good point. If you have any questions about how to do that, you can reach out to the Support Center and we can help you out, or just shoot me an email and I'll put you in the right direction. Great. So let me just go into, we'll dive into the client here. So as you can see, it's pretty similar. I have my folders here on the left. If I had multiple mailboxes that I owned, they would also, actually they would not show up there. They only show up on the Windows version. But you can see your mailbox here. One of the big improvements is the global address list searching. In 2011, it was almost impossible. So what this does is it actually searches all the fields. So sometimes you go and type somebody's name and their middle name kind of messes it up. So if I type in just Brian Suarez, actually just Suarez, it brings up, it does all of the fields. So it's not just looking in my first name, it's looking in the last name as well. So there I am right there. But you can also do distribution lists. So if you search DL, you go underscore, you can see all the different distribution lists that exist in university. And so I'll go into how to manage distribution lists better in another option. But I want to mention that because there's a lack of features in the Mac client, there's some of the things that you can do in the Outlook web app, the OA. So Mac users, I would only suggest using Outlook for email and calendaring, basic stuff. I mean, just kind of just how you've been currently using it, but there is some limited functionality. So I just wanted to mention that. Got it. So now attachment preview is available. Let's pull up an attachment. Let's do something here. Okay, so I have an HTML file. There's like an image. Any type of attachment, you can just go ahead and click on the attachment there and click preview, and it will show you instead of having to open it up and open it into another program.
And so this is something that Windows users have already, correct?
Yep. Okay. Yeah. As time goes on, you know, they're catching up the Apple world to this, but it's good that we see Microsoft taking a direction to be compatible with Apple users. So yeah, so all good things coming from Microsoft.
Great.
So. All right, so I'll move on here. So the Outlook app. This is something I told Christine, I'm like, I have to show this because this is probably the best thing that Microsoft's come out with for the iPhone in a long time. So I'm going to scroll over to my phone here, and you can see my dog, Rocky, who made another appearance in the Tech Talk. So the Outlook app looks just like the icon for all the other apps, and I'll just go ahead and click on it. It does require security. My Touch ID doesn't seem to be working today, so now you guys all know my passcode. But here's what it looks like. As you can see on the bottom here, there are different icons: mail, calendar, files, people, and settings. So the calendar view is enhanced. You can definitely see, you know, more detail. If I had meetings scheduled with anybody, they would pop up here if it was large enough. But if I wanted to go into a detailed meeting, you can see the organizers, you can see the participants, you can see where it was, where the meeting occurs. So let me just go back to my slide. So it's speedy and synchronous with Exchange. This is probably the best thing we've seen. Lots of people complain about how mail isn't, when you flag it, it doesn't unflag it, and it's not shown, the same view. And so they fixed that. They understand there's a need for synchronicity. So I went over the mail, calendars, and people. It's all in one app.
What's the benefit of using the Outlook app versus the integrated email or calendar that comes with your phone?
With your phone?
Yeah.
So one big difference, and when I work with my customers that work heavily in calendars, I mention to them you should get the Outlook app, because when you respond to calendar events on your Outlook app, we would say about 99% of the time it will respond correctly.
Okay.
It will, if you accept it for recurrence or a series, it will actually do it the way it's intended on doing. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, just like how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So I'm going to actually show something else here. So if you just tap on filter up at the top, you can do unread, flagged, and messages with attachments. This is kind of useful in case it's like, oh, I saw this doc and I don't remember, but somebody sent it to me. You can just do attachments there. Flagged items. The one thing that's new with the app is it not only does it put a flag next to the message, it actually puts a yellow hue on it to kind of emphasize it a little more. Okay, so, all right. The last thing I'm going to show here is the integration with those cloud services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compose an email to Christina here. And as you can see, as you type in names, these autocompletes actually get pulled from the Exchange global list, and you can search for people here. So if I just do Bello, it's Christina Bello, and I'm just going to say Tech Talk. And let's say I want to attach the Tech Talk presentation to this email. Now, there's different ways that you can do it. Oh, well, looks like my box login is having issues. Let's get away from that screen. You can attach items from your iPhone. So if you wanted, you could do this, and it would choose a photo. But if you wanted an actual file, something that you have like a PDF or whatever, you tap on the little paperclip, and what you see under Exchange Northwestern, these are PDFs and documents that I've received in a previous email. So then that way I can pull them up quickly. But if I wanted to, I could go into my box, and it seemed to have had some issues. But this is the screen. You would log in. You would go to single sign-on, and you type in your email address there, and you get logged into Box, and it would show you all your folders, all the documents, everything there. So
that's a great option.
Yeah, I'm not able to do it right this moment, but if you were to tap it, it would then ask you if you'd like to have a link, or if you want to attach it directly to email. So,
great.
So that's all for the app there. Now, the Outlook Web Access.
And actually, we had two quick questions about the app. Someone asked, can you set out-of-office replies using the app?
Yes, you can. So on the web app, is that what she's? Okay,
yeah.
One moment. Let me just grab this here. So, flipping through all my screens there. Okay. So if you wanted to set your auto reply, you go to Settings, and you go into your account. And the automatic replies is right there.
Oh, fantastic.
You can just flip it on. You can go and put in your message there.
The message.
You can even use the different messages for external senders and internal senders.
Great.
So this was definitely a feature they wanted. I mean, people asked about that.
Yeah.
So.
And this looks pretty similar between iOS and Android.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some. I can't speak for the Android users, but I know that the look and feel of it is totally the same.
Pretty
so
similar.
let me turn that off because I'm not sick. And I'll go back to my main view there. You have another question?
Yeah, someone else asked if they have their email and calendar currently synced with the integrated email on their phone, and they want to use the Outlook app instead, would they have any trouble? Basically, how should they make that transition?
So good question. You can have both concurrently on your device. So let's say you'd like to try it out, but you don't want to commit. That's totally fine. You can just download the Outlook app, log in, get set up, and it's a standalone app in your app list. But then you would also have the account set up in your Mail app. I don't have here, but there's a way to turn off the notifications for either one, so you're not getting double notifications. But yes, we can definitely do that.
Okay. And so if you have any questions about how to figure that out, you can send us a request to the Support Center, and Brian's contact information, I think, is at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, definitely.
We can help you out with that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on. Outlook Web Access. So I'm sure some of you have used this in the past, or maybe you haven't before, but what this is what I was saying before, it's kind of like Outlook Lite that was coined by, it's, you know, same great taste, but half the calories. And so you're able to do a lot of functionality. So it's a new look since we've done our Exchange 2013 upgrade. It has Skype and link availability, easy to view shared calendars, distribution list management, and unified messaging. So I'm going to actually show some of those.
I know, Brian, you said some of the groups that you work with actually use OA exclusively.
Yeah, yes, they do. Because if you are in a Mac-heavy environment, lots of Mac users, we see that people are more comfortable with OA because there hasn't been a very stable and good-looking and usable Outlook client. Well, now that's changed. They've actually put a lot more development into this app, and they've done a good job. But OA is still very powerful. So up in here in the corner by your name, I'm participating in a voice platform pilot currently, so I don't have the option to use IM at this moment, but if all of you were to log in, and you're not on the voice pilot, and you went in and clicked this, you would see green icons for people, you would see presence, that's what they call it, as presence. You would see a red, yellow, or green icon based on the presence. You would click sign into IM, then you would actually be signed in the link, and you would receive instant messages straight in your browser. So that's kind of a cool feature if you need to communicate with IM, but you're not at your desk. So,
or you're using another computer, or yeah, that's great.
Yeah, definitely. So you can also do automatic replies from here. There's display settings, and I believe in here you can also do integration with certain apps. But what I'm going to show you is the distribution list management. So if there's a Mac user out there that manages a distribution list, they know how difficult it can be because in the past you've needed a Windows client, or you contact IT and they fix it for you. But from here you can modify your distribution groups. You just double click on them, it brings up another window. You can go into the memberships and go into the approval. There's different settings here. If you manage a distribution list, you're probably familiar with these. If you have any questions, contact the Support Center, and we can help get through those. So let's see, go back to my slide. So what I'll show you is how the calendaring looks. Again, if you have used OA before, this may be just repeating information, but I really do think that this is a benefit. If I need to quickly look up somebody's shared calendar, I can pull it up here. And I can do it where it shows it alongside. Let's see. Let me test here. No, I was going to check to see if for multiple days, but it's not working. But that's okay. So if you wanted to view people's calendars and needed to get availability, you have them all in here. There's the merge button if you wanted to merge them all together. And it's pretty straightforward if you've used, the Outlook client before. Great.
Is the scheduling assistant in OA as well?
Yeah, good question. It is. So if you were to go into a new event, to test. Go into scheduling assistant.
Oh, there you go.
Got it there. We can add your rooms at the bottom if you needed to for your conference rooms. And it has similar branding. It looks kind of like Outlook, and that was their intent. They wanted to make it more useful. So, and I'll go back to the mail here. Okay.
And I know someone from a previous event asked as well, you can view folders in Outlook or in OA as well, correct?
That's right, yeah. So all of my folders, my subfolders I have, they're all in here.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that you won't have access to is if you've created PST files.
Mm-hmm.
For the people out there that know what those are, you can't see them in OA because PST files are localized on a computer, so they sit on your hard drive or in your documents folder. So that's the only thing that's not great. So unified messaging options, I can't really demo that because I'm in the Jabber pilot, but you have the ability to change your voicemail settings and your phone routing through that menu, the options menu. You just click on the gear, go to options, and click phone, and it'll show you that. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, contact Support Center. All right, so here's some recommendations from our collaboration services team. They relayed this to me because they feel like this is good information for a general user or a heavy user of the calendars. Be aware that one person should be responsible for doing any types of requests. I know there's a lot of teams out there that like to be collaborative and one person can pick something up or do this, on the fly, but we recommend from a system standpoint is to only allow one person at a time to process those meetings.
Actually, Brian, before you get into that, can you explain what calendar delegation is for anybody that may be interested but not familiar with the term?
Yeah, actually, I actually can demo it in this client here. So delegates are people who can respond on your behalf. So let's say you're a director and you have a lot of teams that you manage and you need an assistant, someone to help you with managing your calendar. It can get filled really quickly. So we can assign people to be delegates of that work. So you would go to File, go to Account Settings, and go to Delegate Access. No, I'm having issues. Let's switch over to OA. So if you come to Options here and Organize
Email. One of the nice things about these all work very similarly.
Yeah, if you go to, I believe it's Account, and I think it's Organize Email, one of these here. Yeah, it's in this message. Maybe it'll still, I think this popped up. Okay, Delegate Access. So in here, I would add people. I'd click Add, and I'd type in your name, Christina. And adding Christina Bello in here, here's the menu that you can see adding delegates. Some of you all may know what that is. So this is what I'm talking about, having one person. So if you have a director level individual that needs management of the calendar, only assign one person. They may have multiple assistants or program coordinators and things like that, but try to get one person to manage this. So if you need more than one, just be aware that there could be some issues. We've seen some issues with people not knowing that they're a delegate, and then they try to access a calendar and they can't, and then they end up saying, well, I shared it with them, and it's because they're a delegate. It puts them in a special status, so be aware of those. Yeah, so have a few delegates as possible. Windows Outlook is preferred, but Mac users can use OA. So there's the option for there. Got it. Only accept or decline meeting requests from a single inbox and from one application. They've recommended everybody in the team or in the workplace should have consistent Outlook versions. So if there's somebody that's an innovator in their workplace, they're going to probably push for it, but then there's other outliers and people who won't adopt it. You have to come to a consensus to understand what's best for everybody. If not everybody wants to move to one version, that's okay, but you just want to make sure everybody's consistent as possible if you can. Yeah.
Even if that means using OA.
Yeah, you can, and that's why it's there, because it's kind of a fail-safe, regardless of your platform. So we've also recommended to turn off auto-accept rules for meeting invites. That would also include resources. It's best to have a human checking these meetings and whether or not they are high status and need to be accepted or those types of things. It's just kind of having a little more control. The technology makes it easy. It does automate things, but there needs to be a human touch on certain things, so these are one of them. Recurring meeting recommendations, always schedule recurring meeting end dates. So I've been told by the collaboration services team that if you schedule a recurring meeting and you don't select an end date, so if I go in here and I go to recurrence and I don't set an end occurrence or an end date, you will have issues rescheduling that meeting. There will be, the system doesn't, it doesn't prefer unlimited recurrence. They want you to have an end date. So do it, we have a guideline of how to do those, and if it occurs in a certain amount of time, make it end at a certain date.
Mm-hmm.
For one-time changes, just create a new meeting, delete it, create it again.
One of the other reasons I know they were recommending that with to set an end date for the recurring meetings is if you have someone set up a recurring meeting and they leave the university and you didn't set an end date for those meetings, it's a challenge to get those off people's calendars.
That's correct.
And it's a lot easier to ignore, a month of meetings that are scheduled and then someone else can set something up after that.
Sure.
Than 5 years of meetings that someone has to try to figure out how to get them off the calendar.
And we don't think about those things that someone's gonna leave or someone's gonna retire, but if you plan those things out, it does make it easier. So that's a good point. Move the end dates. You can move them up to an earlier date to remove the recurring meeting. Try not to delete them. Just change the end dates if they need to stop their recurrence. Refrain from sharing attachments. This is another opportunity for me to plug Box. Box is useful in the sense that you can put in links, hyperlinks, little web addresses, URLs that people can click on to get the attachments. We're recommending if you need materials for your meeting, don't print them. Just put them in a Box folder and share them.
Yeah.
Or
sustainability officers.
Yes, they would love that. Yeah, and just from an ease of functionality. I mean, if people like paper, do it, but don't make it the default. Is really my point. All right, so I was mentioning the length guidelines to set recurring meetings based off of these. So this is the matrix here. If you have a weekly meeting, don't do it more than 2 months. They don't want the instances to occur, more than 8 times. And this would be like a staff meeting,
right?
Something you have, or maybe a monthly meeting. You don't want it to recur too many times for many reasons, but mostly because the system would be more easy to modify those. So like birthdays and anniversaries, even though we want to remember those days, the length. Don't put them as meetings. Make them appointments.
What's the difference between appointments and meetings?
Good question. So in the right up here, the graphic will definitely show you.
Okay.
An appointment is something that you have, personal. It only shows up on your calendar. You can change it to being private. I think that's
I can never find it when I need it.
Yeah, I think it's categorized.
Oh, there it is.
Private right here with the lock. So you can set these to be private. Now a meeting would then, if you see this, it actually has a toolbar, and you would include people, and you would get responses and those types of things. So
one thing I did notice, sometimes if I make an appointment on my calendar, check like what it says your status is, because sometimes it'll default, if you make an appointment, it'll default as free, so people can book over that. So just check to make sure it's...
So she's talking about this. So you click on New Appointment, Show As. There's different categories here. So if you're going to be out of the office because you're going to a doctor appointment, I would probably click that. Yeah. Because what this does is it tells the server, it tells the mail server, the system that we use, the Exchange system, it categorizes the meeting flow, not in this type of category, but a categorization for availability.
Yeah, so basically if someone else is trying to book an actual meeting with you, it won't show up as, you're available during that time. I
believe the default for meetings is busy. So, yeah, good point. Good to be aware of that. Okay, so moving on, some general recommendations. Try not to respond to calendar invite from a mobile device if you're using the native apps on your phone. If you're using the Outlook app, by all means, respond away. We are starting to move, towards this app. It seems to be most compatible. If you need, use OA. That would be more preferred. So either OA or the Outlook app. Great. Place folders outside of the inbox. This was something also the collaboration services team recommended in case there's a need of catastrophic damage. Oh no, everything blew up and I need to restore my mailbox. I need something to be restored. From a standpoint of restoring, they recommend put messages outside of the inbox. Well, that one was internal. So if anything, drag it. I'm in the Mac client. You can't do it in the Mac client. I apologies. Either do it in OA or you do it in the Windows version. So if I were to click on my name into my mailbox and go to a new folder, it creates one outside. So I see that it's at the same level as the inbox. This way, when they select or restore, they actually have to restore your whole inbox.
Mm.
And that takes up a lot of space. And this isn't something you should request all the time. I want to emphasize this is catastrophic, meaning something is totally out of completion and out of whack, and we just need to contact the support center and get it fixed. But again, this is something if there was extreme damage, but not every day kind of restoring things. We don't do that. It's recovering deleted items. If you deleted something and you needed to recover them, you would try and recover deleted items, but we don't really go farther than that because it's just not something that we're set up to do. So,
Brian, somebody asked a question about the calendar invites. What's the issue if they try to respond to a calendar invite from their native calendar or email app versus the Outlook app?
So it has to do with the protocol of the mail and the protocol of the message and what's being sent to the Exchange server. I'm not an expert in Exchange, but from my knowledge, basically what happens is when you respond to a meeting invite using your native calendar app, the format of the response is something that the Exchange server may not recognize. So it's an intermittent thing. So to answer your question, there isn't a real definitive reason why, but because of the compatibility between the way that Apple developed their native products and the way that Microsoft developed their native products, they're just apples and oranges. I mean, to use that analogy, that's really what happens. But like I mentioned, they are putting a lot of effort into bringing back that market share of users because they want people to use that.
But for now, I mean, it's something that it might work if you try to do it from your native email or calendar, but you're just going to it's a lot more reliable if you try to do it with either the Outlook app or OA.
Yep. Keep your Outlook up to date. If you have questions about how to do that, or if you want to check if your Outlook's up to date, contact the support center. They'll put you in the right direction, help you find that information. Mac users, I've emphasized this probably enough in this presentation, but do not use Apple Mail, please. Pretty please. It is just much easier to use 2016. It's stable. This presentation is giving the green light. Go and upgrade. Do it. Don't need to, test out anything else. We've got it to a point where we're seeing people adopt it, and I've used it for probably over a year now, and it's been great. I wouldn't go back. So great. Here's some online resources for you. The main collaboration page. This is the team that's involved with the email system. There's some known behaviors and recommendations, kind of to expand on some of the points that I was making today. And then some general calendar support tools. They're how-tos. They've been written by the team who are the experts. So. And yeah, I think we're good on time. If anybody has any questions at all.
We'll give people a couple minutes to ask some questions, and as I kind of open the floor up for that, we're actually going to go through kind of the end feedback poll questions. But again, if anybody has any questions while we're wrapping up, feel free to type them in. We have a couple minutes to answer those. But with that, I will poll questions here. And actually, someone asked a great question, how to get the PowerPoint that you went through. We're actually going to give you, I'll show you where you can download it in just a minute, and we'll also have it on the IT website as well. So first poll question, did you learn something new during today's event? I'll give everybody a moment to answer that question. And Brian, we had a question. Some listeners are trying to configure the Outlook app on their Android device and are having some issues. Who can they contact? How can they get help with that?
You can call OneHelp if you'd like. You can go to the IT page and chat. You can send an email to consultant@northwestern.edu. But yeah, you'll want to contact the support center. I'm not going to troubleshoot you over the webinar right now, but yeah, give the support center a call and they'll be able to assist with that.
Okay, great. And somebody had a similar question on iPhone, so actually we should probably, we can maybe do a little video at some point.
Yeah,
about that and help
definitely.
people out with that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thanks. Good question.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll pull up the second poll question here for people, which is, do you plan to apply any of the information you learned at today's event? It looks like several people actually are in the midst of trying to install the app right now, which is great to know. So again, we always want to make sure you kind of know how to apply what we talked about, whether that's upgrading in 2016, installing the app on your phone. If you have questions about how to apply anything we talked about, again, do let us know. Contact the support center, me or Brian, and we'll get you set and off in the right direction. All right, and our last question is, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being very satisfied, how would you rate the overall quality of today's event? And again, we always hope you're satisfied. You know, you take time out of your day to attend these. If there's anything we can do to improve these events, do let us know. We make changes and adjustments and new topics based on your feedback because we want to make these worth your time. So again, I'll give everybody a moment to answer that question. Great, looks like everybody was quite happy today. So I'll give people one more moment. And excuse me. I'll show you where you can download a copy of the PowerPoint. So, and I'll actually just mention one real quick thing. I think we probably mentioned this, but for people who are looking to download the app, it's just the App Store for Apple or Android. So that's where you can get that. So to download the PowerPoint, you just click this PDF here and click Download Files. And it'll open up in a web browser window, and you can open it from there. Again, we'll also have the recording of this event and the PowerPoint on the IT website later today, so you can get it from there as well. And with that, I will say thank you very much, Brian. It was a great presentation, and thank you all for attending today.